Now, the UK and US have bombed Houthi rebels in Yemen for a second time in response to their continued attacks on ships in the Red Sea. The Iranian-backed rebels have been attacking merchant boats since November, which they claim is in retaliation for Israel's war in Gaza.
Earlier, the Prime Minister addressed the Commons defending the strikes and insisting the UK was not looking for a conflict.
We did so because we continue to see, including in intelligence, an ongoing and imminent threat from the Houthis to UK commercial and military vessels and to those of our partners in the Red Sea and wider region. And Mr. Speaker, I want to be very clear. We are not seeking a confrontation. We urge the Houthis and those who enable them to stop these illegal and unacceptable attacks. But if necessary, the United Kingdom will not hesitate to respond again in self-defence.
Well, joining us now is former senior military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Philip, always great to have you on the show. My first question, I think, is why are there no other countries joining in with us, or have there been others joining in with us this time? I think last time it was a coalition of around 8 countries, including Canada, Bahrain, to name a few. But I think noticeable by their absence are countries like France, like Italy, who will have been equally affected by this attack on merchant shipping.
Their own ways of doing things, but this was a multinational effort. Only the UK and the US dropped weapons, but planning it, working on the intelligence, providing the support, that also came from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands on this case. So it was definitely a multinational effort. The UK and the US are the two nations with aircraft and cruise missiles in the region that are able to carry out the physical effect. But that's almost the easy bit. The hard bit is all of what's going on in the background to make sure it's properly coordinated and it's based on sound intelligence.
Philip, we just heard the Prime Minister. Cameron's the same, the Foreign Secretary. They're almost obsessive in their declarations. This is self-defence. This is not a conflict, because they're obviously terrified that escalation will mean that we in the West, particularly Britain and America, have been sort of sucked in, if you like, into some kind of Middle Eastern war. Now, it was last week, wasn't it? Beginning of last week, was it? Whenever we launched those rather significant raids, 60 bombs dropped on North Yemen to send them a warning, a very serious warning. If you carry on raiding ships, this is what will happen. Since then, I understand they've raided 12 ships. So they are clearly, the Houthis are not at all deterred by our bombing raids. So my question to you is, where are we heading with this? Because the more we bomb them and the more they raid ships, the more it looks to me like some kind of war.
Well, the Houthis are used to being bombed. They've been bombed by the Saudis and the Saudi-led coalition for the last 9 years. So it's going to be difficult to bomb them into submission. Alongside the military effort, there's diplomatic effort going into Iran, who are backing them. There are operations going on to interdict Iran supplying weapons and weapons components into the Houthis. And unfortunately, the US lost 2 Navy SEALs a couple of days ago in an operation interdicting missile components being brought in. And you're right, there have been 12 attacks in the last 10 days by the Houthis on ships at sea. This is the second attack that the UK and the US have done. The US have attacked a number of other missile launch sites in between those. And reading in between the lines and looking at what they're doing and the targets that they're attacking, there's some very, very good intelligence that's looking at when the Houthis manage to get their missiles into position that can be fired at international shipping in international waters. And that's when the attacks go in quite quickly. This deliberate one was sending another message to them. They're probably not going to listen to this one, but they will listen to one at some stage. We can continue this sort of military action. It's not a war. We continue this sort of military action, ad infinitum. There's no real timeline on it, and it doesn't need to escalate any further. That's in the hands of Iran. They're trying to escalate, though.
Yeah, no, I was going to come on to Iran next, because whether you're looking at Hezbollah, whether you're looking even at the October the 7th Hamas attacks, whether you're looking at the Houthis, they're all part of a bigger constellation. At the centre of their universe is Tehran, who are, jostling for supremacy in the region, but also it seems to be perpetuating acts of grey zone warfare against the West. So what on earth are we supposed to do about them?
Well, it's not just against the West. We have to remember that Iran attacked Pakistan only a few days ago,
Yeah.
and the Pakistanis retaliated. So it is a much wider regional issue that's in there. If we look at some of the aims that there are amongst the groups that are backed by Iran, and the comments that they're coming out, they all have similar comments, which are the destruction of Israel, the creation of a wider caliphate. Hezbollah, Lebanese Hezbollah, their main aim is to create a caliphate with Iran at the center of that caliphate. And there's all little elements of that are working to the same piece. Iran is doing a lot of this because internal politics inside Iran is not good at the moment. It's not stable. And there's two real sort of political powers. There's the religious political power and there's the political power. The religious power has got greater strength, but that internal battle is causing them to try and find some other way of distracting the people from it. And one way of distracting is to try and fight out against the oppressive West, the Americans, the Zionists, and everyone else. And that seems to be what they're doing. But it's very, very worrying.
We'll just take you back to something you alluded to just now, Philip. You said that we can carry on these bombing raids on the Yemen till the cows come home, and frankly, the Houthis can suck it up. They won't really care. They're used to it. They've had 8 years of bombing by Saudi Arabia. They're used to this stuff. So in the end, what is the point? I mean, are we just going to carry on and on and on like this? Or will there come a point when the Houthis will go, you know what, we're so damaged, we're going to have to stop this? Or will the point of conflict switch to Iran? We keep talking about, we've got to cut the head off the snake. Well, the head of the snake is Iran. These disputes are these conflicts are sort of stylized, aren't they?
They are. Escalating it to take on Iran, to try and take those that are providing the support from a military perspective would just be inflammatory and would cause more casualties and more damage around the world and destroy global economics, just as it's trying to recover from Russia's illegal invasion or reinvasion of Ukraine. And therefore, what you're doing is effectively you're policing. It's like the gangs that are going around with knives. You could go into the communities and you could gather everyone up and kick them out of the country or put them all in prison and take an inflammatory approach to dealing with where the gangs are coming from. Or you put more police in the streets that stop individuals with knives. Well, these are the individual Houthis with their anti-ship missiles and all the rest of it. They're being stopped. And all we're doing is we're policing international shipping. We've got the ability to do it. The Americans got the ability to do it, and in different ways, other nations are contributing. The French are sending another warship into the area, and they will do it independently. The Germans are sending a warship down into the area. Again, they will probably do it independently because what they don't want to do is to be seen to be part of a US-led or US-influenced coalition that's there. And the EU can't quite get themselves together to create a military coalition to provide support for all of the international trade that's coming up to EU countries as well as UK and US.
Oh, yeah, no, quite good to see our friends across the channel with their dreams of an EU army are finally beginning to mobilise to help us out. Philip, it's been fantastic talking to you as always.
Thanks, Philip.